And we're live. Welcome everybody here to the Lakers Lounge. I'm Anthony Irwin, joined on this fine Thursday evening. My time, it's like early evening your time, right? Like this is way
Yep,
late for us. I
it
could
is.
technically pour a drink
You should.
and not be judged for it. I won't because I have
Oh.
my own rules or whatever, but I
just don't care.
no, I you know what? I
The judgment does not. I do not care.
I now kind of regret not having a glass of wine with me while we do this one. Shit. Today on the show, we are going to be talking about, and by the way, I'm Anthony Irwin.
Today on the show, we're going to get emergency flood. Okay, got it. Okay, I'm pressing things. I get it. Okay.
Today on the show, we're going to be talking about the fallout from last night's loss to the Kings. Something that's been kind of bugging me in the back of my head as far as the personnel on this team, and the other one is an interesting clip that I came across last night in after the game. It was Anthony Davis kind of remarking on the defense and stuff like that. So we're going to be talking about that as well. Again, quick reminder, please do hit subscribe if you guys are listening or watching live on YouTube. If you guys are listening or watching live on Twitter and you want to continue watching on Twitter, cool. That's perfectly fine too. But also please do hit that subscribe on YouTube so that you would know exactly when these shows go live. And if you are listening tomorrow in audio form, please subscribe everywhere that you get your podcasts, preferably on Odyssey. All right. Let's start though with the fallout from that loss. Though that was the worst loss of the season, right? Like that was when you consider the circumstances and the way that the Lakers lost, and what it means for playoff standings and all of that stuff. That was the worst one. That was certainly the one that pissed me off the most.
No, I mean the Lakers have lost to Brooklyn.
No, but
I think losing to Brooklyn is worse, right? But and there's another one I'm forgetting that was just wholly unacceptable. Was it Chicago? Maybe Chicago. I don't remember. But to have this be the thing with the stakes as they were, and so yeah, and then especially the way in which it happened when it looked like the Lakers were primed and ready, so to speak, and then just fell apart in some predictable ways, especially against that team, the Kings. So yeah, I mean, I disagree. I think losing to somebody terrible is worse, but under the circumstances and with the ramifications that game had, yes, and the way in which it played out, I see your point.
There's a home loss too. You were there for the game, right? You were in the building for it. Mm-hmm. By the way, I actually saw you not in this last one, but you actually popped up on a TV.
That's terrifying.
Yeah, you're. I now know where you sit. So next time, if I ever go to a game again, I'm gonna just harass you the whole time you're in your.
It showed me in my seat.
Climbing to your seat, like going up the stairs.
All right. Yeah. So that doesn't happen very often because I sit on the side across from the benches, and so across from the scorer's table and the benches on the other side, across from the Lakers bench, and so usually the cameras are pointing towards the other direction. So I'm not on TV much, and that's a good thing.
You were right there in all your glory. You were right
by myself.
Mm-hmm. Huh?
Was I by myself? Well, wait, hold on.
For that 5 second for that 5 second interval, you were.
Good. I was gonna say what game what game was this? Do you know what game this was? And I was gonna have to start digging back through the calendar.
But yeah, so apparently there were some chants that made their way through the arena as that game slipped out of the Lakers' hands, out of the Lakers' grasp, and eventually you got to a point where everybody kind of knew what was coming, and the Lakers just completely lost control of the game. Apparently there's some chants there, and this didn't get picked up on TV.
I didn't hear,
but there were some chants of fire Darvin. fire
I'm not
Darvin.
saying there were not, but if there were, honestly, I did not hear them. So I don't know.
My question to you is, like, Genie very well.
Yes.
And apparently they started around the time when she went, I think it was on the third quarter or so. Lakers were down by like 20. And I don't know if she left or if she was just going back to get a drink or whatever.
She did not.
But,
No, she left, which she does. It's not about like the Lakers losing. She always leaves. If the game is decided, she leaves with a few minutes left in the fourth quarter if the game is decided. If not, she'll hang out. But no, she didn't. Whenever it was, it was not her leaving the game.
Okay, so she got up and was walking, maybe to the what's the bar that you guys use there?
It's called the patio.
The patio, thank you.
But that's also where there isn't a bathroom there, so everybody that's in the patio, we use the media room as the bathroom, as where we can use the restroom. So she could have been going back there too.
Could have been that. And apparently, as she was getting up and leaving to do whatever it was that she was leaving to do, that's when the chant started. And my question to you is, like, Genie very well. And I'm not asking anything to besmirch her character or anything like that. Don't, this isn't something to get nervous about. But I'm curious, like, if she heard those chants, and I'm guessing she did because apparently they were in that section, I think, directed at her. What impact do you think that has on her there?
So, okay, I'll get to that in a second. So if you're saying it was from that section, because I sit in the same section as Genie, a couple rows back. And so I did hear people saying that, and you'll hear, periodically, because I'm a few feet away from her, I will hear people say, "Hey, Genie, blah, 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 blah." When they don't like something, it's never, "Hey, Genie, that was really awesome."
Actually, blah, 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 blah.
Yes, that is, yes. So hey, there's definitely,
Genie,
there were definitely people, I can think of a couple last night. There were definitely people in and around that section. I remember one person over my right shoulder a few rows
back.
My
Venmos went through. Good.
I said, that said, well, I'm closer. You could have, what kind of money are we talking? I did hear a few people say, yell out at Genie to fire Darvin. Yes. So I did hear that. I did not hear what you're describing. Makes it sound more of like a collective chant. That I did not hear. But look, you have to, I take, obviously I don't take it as hard as Genie does, but I really care about this in a different way, not in the same way you do as a fan, but like, I'm responsible for I'm not responsible for the winning and losing, but I feel that way, right? Because I have a role, sure. And so you have to, if you do this sort of thing, if you work for a team, or obviously if you own a team, you have to tune that shit out. Everybody's human. And so, like, when players say they don't hear stuff that people say about them, or they don't read stuff that people say about them, it's nonsense. They do. 98% of them do, and the 2% that don't have people that read it for them and tell them. So you have to, I know Genie is always aware of like what fans are thinking, and she takes the fan experience very seriously. And I think you can argue about how successful it's been, but what you can't argue is how seriously she takes like winning championships as being what's important, and partially because of doing right by Lakers fans. So yeah, I mean, some of it is like, it has to go in one ear and out the other. I would probably say the same thing, about Rob. I guess, who is it? Is it, I think it's, no, not Jim Mora. Marv Levy is or maybe it was Bill Parcells. Anyway, some like famous football coach said, like, if you listen to the fans, then you'll be sitting with them. If you're letting the fans tell you what to do,
sounds like a Parcells.
Yeah. So I could hear Belichick saying that too, but in any event,
all I hear Belichick saying is like,
yeah, we're on to Cincinnati or whatever it was.
Yeah.
So she obviously, if she heard it last night, like, if it's one person here or there, like, dismiss it, or when I hear people yelling like, why is such and such happening, or why is so and so playing so and so, and shouldn't so and so be playing instead, like that kind of stuff. If it's one thing, I just like it just goes in one ear and out the other. It's not that you don't notice it, but it just goes in one ear out the other. I think that's different though if it was a like coordinated chant. But I
So
don't know
that's
if
what
she
I
heard
got to
it
do. I
because
got to pay more people and
I
make
didn't
it
hear it.
coordinated.
Yeah, I don't know, that Venmo bill is good. It might get that
Shit.
Venmo bill. You're gonna have to
I
collect all
think
the
that's a
people that
write-off, right? I think that's a tax write-off. I can actually like.
does it have to work or something? Does it affect change? I don't know.
So if it works, then it's a write-off. If it doesn't, then
Maybe it's just an investment, because if it works and you happen to be correct and the team gets better, then the content is better. Actually, although does content get? I guess you just don't want the Lakers to be boring, right? Like they have to be either really good or not so good, right? To drives traffic. People
no,
want
I
to
mean,
talk about
like
it.
I've covered the team long enough now to be able to like I think make them interesting no matter what's going on, right? Like I covered them when they were tanking. I covered them when they were good, and now I've covered them now. So like, over the years you kind of figure out how to do it. To me, like to me the best way to go about it is just kind of tap back into fandom and have
Mhm.
conversations about them the way that I would have conversations with friends who are also fans, right? And
Yeah, that makes
so
sense. I have to come at it from a different perspective, but I get it. And yeah, I mean, but everybody involved in this is human, right? So people are going to hear things about them that is not going to feel great. So different people are affected by that in different ways. But I think if it is a coordinated chant, that's a different thing than isolated. And I can't really speak on how she would feel about it about that specifically, because I was there a few feet away from her and I did not hear this chord. It doesn't mean it didn't happen. I didn't notice it.
yeah, I part of the reason I was asking this is because I do kind of wonder if the louder the noise gets, the more kind of committed to her stance on him gets, right? Like,
Genie's not stubborn in that way.
okay, that's good to know.
Yeah, Genie's not stubborn in that way.
Yeah,
And
I just,
she also yeah, I mean, she definitely does. She has final say, right, of all things
yeah,
Lakers. So all things basketball, including personnel moves, coaching stuff. But she is not like in the weeds day to day. Like that stuff that's left up to Rob and all of the other people involved there. She's not. I don't think she would feel like stuck in the mud or stubborn about that sort of thing. That's what the basketball people do. One thing Genie is very good at, and she learned this from her father, is you know whatever you think about the size of the front office, it's hire who you think are the right people, or the best people for the job, are the right people, and then let them do their thing. And that's like in basketball, it's in marketing, it's in whatever, like throughout the organization.
mhm,
She stays out of the way of stuff.
yeah, yeah. I mean, it's tough because on one hand, you want an owner who is able to do that, but then on the other, right? If the owner is Dr. Buss, right, he didn't just stay out. Like there were times where he did step in and, famously, right, when Kobe was demanding a trade, Mitch Kupchak went out and found a trade. And then Dr. Buss was like, we aren't
Sure,
trading Kobe,
sure.
So like, it's one of those kind of case by case situations. And I think in this case, the noise. It's one thing, Aaron. Like I've been marveling at this the last, you know, I had my latest report, or my first, I guess, report for Lakers Daily went up on last
Hmm.
Saturday. We are now on Thursday. That was the third piece that took you inside the locker room with intel from inside the locker room and inside the organization that was indicating that there are a lot of people who are wondering about Darvin Ham's ability to do this job. And at no point, whether it was my first reports earlier this year, whether it was the Athletics report as well, whether it was my latest one here now, at no point has anybody, no player has stepped up and been like, that's cap. You guys just report anything. Nothing like that. It's been things get reported and, you know, that's just how they go on. And I find that silence deafening, right? Because normally, even if the stuff is true, by the way, like even if the stuff is true, you'll still get like an us against the world mentality, with between players and coaches. And in this case, it's just like, I don't know if it's a complete lack of belief. I don't know if it's another kind of statement that Darvin has lost them or what, but like, what do you make of kind of the silence in response to all of the stuff, right? And like waving generally everywhere. Like, how normally that's not how this goes.
Sure, but normally you're also not going to get, you mentioned, I'm going to leave you for good reason. I'm going to leave you out of this, but so you mentioned the athletics piece. I think it was Jovan and Shams, I think, tag teamed on it. They were very specific about 6 sources that they spoke to. Normally it's a source, or even if it's more than one source or a couple sources, or maybe you say multiple sources, right? Which could be anything from, I guess, 2 to infinity. Because multiple means more than one.
It'd be funny if there was like an infinite line of people coming forward.
They were very
Airplane. That scene from Airplane where they're getting slapping the lady. Yeah.
They were very specific about it being 6, which is like it's very rare that you would get that in a piece. And so
I'm even reluctant to say couple. Like because that's a specific number.
Yeah, multiple is very vague, right? But so I think that makes this situation, I don't know about unique, but pretty rare. And even if there were some people who wanted to come forward and say, like, call bullshit on it, if you're that specific about 6, right? I mean, there can be people who say, like, I don't care, I support Darvin no matter what, I support Darvin, period, right? But if you're going to say, I may not make it through the evening. You hear this thunder? Are you hearing the mic picking it up? Thunder and lightning all about here in the valley.
Are you scared of thunder? Are you scared?
No. I'm just like, this sounds serious. I saw the Wizard of Oz, but my abode may fall away. So because of the specificity of the number of sources on that, even people that would want to develop, I would understand being hesitant to do so. And I think the other part of it is you have to worry, I guess, or be aware of, right? There's human dynamics in everything. And, the politics of this sort of thing, I would guess that guys would be considering, if they were going to go against that report, would be considering, in lieu of the fact that there are 6 people, not 6 people named, but 6 sources given as a specific number of who those 6 people are, and not wanting to go against any of those 6 people, or maybe just one of those 6 people or 2 or whatever. I think I could understand guys being hesitant to, like, want to expend that political capital. It's also possible to, I think the point you were wanting to make or insinuating, that he doesn't have any support that is a possibility in the locker room. That is a possibility. There are many possibilities, but that is one of them. And it is possible. I think it's probably more likely, though, that the people that would defend him were scared off by the specificity of the report and just said, like, I'm not firing one of my bullets on this one.
Yeah, I get that. I think, as is normally the case, multiple things can be going on at the same time. And in this situation, this is pretty unique, man. Like, where, the people that I talk to, there's like, I have not seen a coach outlast this much questioning of whether or not he is capable of doing his job, while the results aren't there in that season, right? And this isn't a championship level head coach. Yeah, you got to the Western Conference Finals, but like, that's not what the Lakers celebrate. This is it's with Luke, once the noise reached a certain decibel level, you kind of saw where that was heading. With Byron, once the noise reached a certain decibel level, you kind of got it. And
I mean, that's true of any coach, right? And not just the Lakers thing. That's true of any coach. Like, there is a point where it just it's too far gone. Yes.
But I feel like we've crossed that point. Like I
No,
feel like with Darvin, we've crossed that point that normally for most head coaches, that is not something that most head coaches outlast, is that amount of noise. And last night Anthony Davis added to it. I'm going a little out of order,
yeah.
compared to
I'm interested in this. I haven't heard this yet. So
this is a he has a longer, obviously, presser that he does there or whatever, but he was asked about the defense and how it looked so great against the Thunder, and then they seem to struggle against the Sacramento Kings. And this is what he had to say about that, courtesy of Spectrum.
Some of the things we were in defensively allowed them to allow De'Aaron Fox and Malik Monk to get whatever they want, live in the paint. If I go help, then Sabonis is wide open. So they did a good job manipulating what we were doing.
He makes some point about Sacramento there at the very end or whatever. I think he kind of he kind of realizes what he's kind of saying, and he saves it by saying that Sacramento did a good job there or whatever. But that was a superstar, your highest paid employee, basically saying that the coach's scouting report and their strategy heading into that game allowed Malik Monk to get going and allowed De'Aaron Fox to get going. By the way, I agree, right? All the drop coverage and putting Torian on Malik kind of changed the game. And I again, like, that is just one of several instances where a quote like that comes. And it's just like, it's too late in the season now for a change to be made.
Correct.
But to arrive at a point where a star is saying that about a coach, it means it's been brewing for a while. And it has been. I can tell you right now, this kind of stuff has been brewing for, all season, basically. And to arrive here where you are past the point of being able to fire the guy without having fired him with all of this noise going on, that's the part of this that I find unique to this situation, not to the Lakers or not to anything like that, but Darvin specifically in this situation, him lasting this long. You mentioned how Genie isn't stubborn and how, it winds up being Rob's decision to make. Sam Amick of The Athletic reported right after Jovan and Sham's piece dropped that, from the people at the top of the organization have the utmost belief in Ham. Genie was texting Darvin about all of that, saying she's sorry he's going through all of this stuff and that she supports him 100%. Rob was echoing that same sentiment as well. And then I'm told that you could kind of see from those who were going to games, Rob making the rounds to make it known that, like, he really supports Darvin as well. To the beat reporters and national reporters who were going to that series of games. And it's like, it just feels like the minority position is the one that is winning out right now. That seems kind of weird to me.
I mean, yeah, look, nothing's happening. Darvin's not getting fired right now.
No.
Like, if that was going to happen, when was the right moment for happen is up for debate. Should he be? I know most fans are going to say, yes, he should not be the coach anymore. That's the, like, fans' general position. I don't think Darvin has done a good job this year. He did go to the Western Conference Finals. He did take the team to the Western Conference Finals. Well, whatever, 9-10 months ago. So yeah, to the AD, that thing, AD was frustrated last night. He got his ass kicked.
He takes it really personally when they struggle defensively.
He does.
He hates that shit.
He does. He also, like, because he is very kind of mild-mannered, people do not understand how competitive he is. Mm-hmm. He is one of the more, if not the most competitive guy on the team. Austin's pretty fucking competitive too. But AD is very, very, very competitive, even by NBA player standards. Mm-hmm. And so he was very frustrated last night. He was frustrated with himself. He was frustrated with the team. And he got his ass kicked last night. It happens. We can talk about that. I think there's a pattern there that's interesting that we can talk about. But you could see, I don't know if you could see this on TV, but there were times when, especially when Fox got going, that Fox would get in the paint and get another bucket, get in the paint and shoot another floater. where AD was like, it looked to me like he was looking over at the bench, like, can we switch something up here? Like wanting to switch up some coverages, because I mean, there's a lot of going on here though, because like that is a way to not make AD have to do everything. Right. If you're going to send AD, have him come up and help on screens or blitz, then he has to recover back. Right. And AD has to do everything. AD can do everything, but you're asking a lot out of AD to cover everybody at all places at all times. So it is a more conservative defense that they were playing. It was the wrong choice. Plainly, it was the wrong choice. I was listening to LFR. They talked about this too, where like this is what you're trying to like funnel everything to AD. That's a strategy for the Lakers, and give up what are traditionally not very high percentage shots in floater range. Those are tough shots for guys to make, and people aren't very good at them. The Kings are very good at them, and De'Aaron Fox specifically is very, very, very good at them.
Yeah.
So that's part of the problem. AD was clearly frustrated, but like I didn't love Ham. Was like sometimes you have to play harder. Like I didn't love him. I read it. I didn't hear him say that. So yeah, it didn't feel like, him kind of putting the onus other places on the guys. I didn't like. However, like Austin Reeves, and Austin's a fine defensive player. I think Austin has slipped a little bit this year,
yeah,
from last year. Austin's okay. D'Lo isn't even okay. And like at some point, and this is a part of the Vando problem too. At some point, Austin and D'Lo and Spencer and Taurean Prince and whoever is guarding those two dudes, and it's a tough ask because those are two of the quickest dudes in the league.
Yeah.
At some point, the Lakers guards have to stand in front of somebody and guard them. That's part of it too, right? AD is getting put in these terrible positions because the guys out in front of him are getting beat off the bounce over and over and over and over. And that breaks a defense. If you can't guard the dude in front of you, it just breaks a defense. And Austin and D'Lo last night were not good enough, period. Sometimes Austin has had some really good moments, even recently defensively, that surprised me. What game was it? I don't remember. It was a couple games back where it was, Shea. He was having like, Austin was giving Shea SGA some problems. But he just he got his ass kicked too. And D'Lo got his ass kicked last night. They were just getting broken down off the bounce. Even David Mitchell was getting in the lane and made 4 threes, which is never going to happen again. But like some of it is on AD and some of it is on the guy. Stand in front of your man and guard him.
Yeah, I mean, like from a basketball standpoint, I think it's worth having the conversation, and we did. Raj and I did have a conversation on as far as like the things that the Lakers did wrong that led to that situation. Like, honestly, the only 2 players I thought played even like remotely well was LeBron and Rui, and then Max to the extent that he can when he plays 8 minutes or whatever he played, and everybody else, whether you want to talk about AD, who just like you mentioned the trend, like bigger physical skilled bigs give Anthony Davis problems, right? Whether it's Jokic, Sabonis, Nurkic, Drummond has given him problems in a game here and there as well. Zubats as well. That's an archetype of player. Embiid also that gives AD problems, and there was no adjustment made to like help him out. With this being like the 17th time we've watched Anthony Davis struggle with that type of a player.
Yeah, but help him out with whom? Help him out with whom?
I thought it was a mistake to never play Hayes and AD together. Like
I mean that's been a standing thing all season. That
yeah,
I mean part of it is Christian Wood being hurt, but like the Lakers, in my opinion, have not played enough 2 big lineups. I consider AD is just a center to me. It doesn't mean he has to play 100% of his minutes at center. Like he can play some 4 and let him roam. But I mean, like, what is if AD's having problems? I mean, look, Sabonis gives a lot of people problems. But if he's like, what is Jackson Hayes going to do with Sabonis, right? Like,
well, it's the idea of having both of them there, right? So that like the physicality isn't just on Anthony Davis.
Now that, and AD has talked about that a lot, where every night he has to take the most physical matchup. So playing him at 4 some, yes. I agree, right? Then he's, whatever, hanging out with Harrison Barnes.
Yeah.
And also on the other end, right, like not being put in every screening action on offense, which can beat up your body too. He's taking every screen on defense and he is setting every screen on offense.
Yeah.
I mean, it's fair a lot. I see somebody here in the chat, and you can do whatever you want with the chats and the super chats, but somebody was asking about Cam Reddish. So to make this point, about Cam Reddish being the point of attack defender with no Vando and with no Gabe, like, okay, I guess, but whatever, 2 games ago, Cam was just getting destroyed by Jamal Murray. And then on the other end was standing in the corner, and Jamal Murray was literally had 1 foot in the key with both hands on his like shorts bent over and didn't have to move because didn't care about Cam. So that was the situation with Cam. If Cam's like not going to guard, then nobody cares about him on offense.
I mean, like, to me, like, because I mentioned Cam last night, and it's not a matter of like I need more Cam in my life or anything like that. It was more the inconsistency of, all right, so he closes that game and then he gets a DNP the next night, and then we might get, in this next game
maybe it's growth. Maybe it's growth. Maybe it was he was awful down the stretch.
It's been inconsistent all season though, right? Yes. Like it's been trial and error all season, and you're 65 or whatever games into the season at this point. So it's we have passed the point of trial and error, and I would be willing to bet that we'll get more trial and error against the Milwaukee Bucks, and maybe Cam plays in that one. We'll just keep on going on this ring around. But I don't know. It's funny. While we've been talking, I got this quote tweet of that Anthony Davis clip, and it's the point that I'm making here that I find unique to the situation. This is from it's a lot of letters. I'm not going to read it. Funniest, well, not for me, but yeah, subplot of the season has been that Lakers players and opponents alike have been throwing not so subtle shots at Ham Sandwich for months, and not a single thing has been done about it. It's just happening, and rightfully so. And like, that's the part of this that I have found really interesting and frustrating, interesting and frustrating in that, like, the vast majority of people who watch the Lakers play know that they have a coaching problem. And by the way, it's not just Darvin. Like, I think the entire staff has had problems this year at various points in the year, doing whatever it is that they are responsible for doing there. I like when Darvin goes, I'm perfectly fine seeing everybody go. And that's usually how this plays out. But I just think like the Lakers have been at a coaching deficit all season here this year. And I think we're reaching that breaking point, especially as the Lakers near the end of the season, and they realize that they're probably going to be in the 10 seed in the play-in tournament. And they know all the work that they have to do just to get to playing the number 1 seed in that first round of the playoffs. Like, I do think that you're probably going to get more jabs like we got from Anthony Davis here in the direction of the people who deserve them. The name of this show, or the title of the show on YouTube, or this episode was signing Spencer Dinwiddie a mistake. And I want to be clear. I think Spencer has been mostly fine. I wish he not
better than mostly fine.
Well, he would be better than mostly fine if he knocked down the occasional open jump shot. But he doesn't do that very often. So it's hard for me to say that he's been like anywhere near like actually good. I think he's fine. And but the problem though is that, like, with yet another guard there who Darvin feels like he has to play, you now have D'Lo, Austin, Spencer, and Torian, who I think operates more like a guard than a wing or whatever, or is at least sized that way and is more comfortable guarding guards than he is bigger wings and stuff. And that has made the Lakers return to the stuff that pissed us off last year, where it was they are so small all the time out there unless they have that starting unit out there. And last night they had that starting unit out there. I think that group, Austin, D'Lo, Rui, LeBron, and AD were a plus 40, bordering on 41 net rating in the game, but only played 14 minutes together. And the rest of the time that the Lakers were out there, they were somehow as small, if not smaller than one of the smallest teams in the league, in the Sacramento Kings. So, like, my question to you is, like, if you could, if there was a time machine, a DeLorean pulls up to your house right now,
Okay, we're going back to
not
1955.
Where we're going, we don't need roads. We're past that point, right?
Was it May 5th, 1955 or something like that? 5595? I don't remember, but
maybe
I know it was 95 or 55.
Well, I know, like, the future one though. The second movie, they go to like the year 2020 or something like that. And
right. Oh yeah, and they have the hoverboards and
yeah.
What's his name?
Made me sad because we fell way below expectations on that movie. We are way behind.
Exactly, yeah. Our technology is not. didn't the bad guy in that? He had like an almanac, a sports almanac, so he was betting on.
He got rich.
Yeah. Okay, Biff or Boffo or whatever his name is.
Biff.
Yeah, that's right.
So. Yeah, if a DeLorean pulled up to your house and you had the ability to go back in time and advise the Lakers, knowing what you know now, not just results based, but knowing what you know now, would you still think it was a good idea to sign Spencer Dinwiddie?
Well, so my response would be, like, I get the wanting to save Darvin from himself kind of thing, or bad habits, or however you framed it.
This is how I know you and I have been doing the show for a long time together, because that's exactly the angle that I'm talking about here. I didn't mention it, but what I'm talking about.
Yeah. I'll be completely honest with you. When I was asked, I've told the story before where, it got out that I was sitting next to it's just I hate this story. So it got out that people
Collison?
have. What's that?
Collison?
Yeah. I was not going to say it because I didn't want to bring it up again. I was going to try to avoid it, but yes. When it got out that I happened to be sitting next to Darren Collison a couple years ago when he was in town visiting, and went to the game, and then Darren Collison didn't sign, and so it became like a thing on Twitter to blame me for. Yeah, correct. Mm-hmm. And so then this time, with people saw Spencer there sitting with Rob after he had been, I think it was in New York, but with the Mavs, watching the Mavs play in New York. So I don't get any credit for this one, but when on that day, Rob and I we actually talked about it. I think the Lakers had a back-to-back. So I was in the building when Spencer was in New York with, watching the Mavs, presumably. Mm-hmm. And so Rob and I talked about it then, and then talked about it the next day when, and he asked me about it, what I thought. And my response was that. My response is, he's by far the most talented guy. He's probably by far the best player available, or likely is going to be available. But I do have concerns that he's going to play. What I said is, I have concerns that Darvin's going to play Austin, D'Lo, and Spencer together too much, and they're going to get destroyed defensively.
Little did you know that they were actually going to play, or Darvin was going to play, Spencer, Austin, Dinwiddie, and Torian.
No, I mentioned that too. I was going to leave Torian out of it. He was so bad last night, I was going to leave him out of it. I was just not going to bring his name up. But yes, I said that also to Rob. And to be fair, Rob also shared some of those concerns. So, yeah, I mean, I was concerned at the time, and knowing what I know now, I still don't like for whom, I guess, would be like, what was the opportunity cost for whom? Who would you like not
on the outside, like free agent market? Who would have been better to bring in?
Like, if it's not Spencer, like, who do you feel like if it's literally only to save Darvin from himself, presumably or possibly in the future, then of course it's the right move to make, right?
I mean, I guess like I could maybe say Thaddeus Young or Bismack Biyombo, but I guess that's, you just made, I think, an important part there, right? If you are not bringing players in just because you know that the coach is going to use them incorrectly.
No, be specific.
What?
That is not the point I made. Because I didn't say because you know that the coach is going to blah, blah, blah. The possibility of him is very different. The possibility of that happening is very different than you know.
we could have known. Like we've watched this guy.
I said I had concerns. I voiced those concerns.
I've watched your movies, Darvin. I've heard your music. I know how this usually goes.
I said I had concerns, but that is different from knowing.
Fine. But I guess, like, all right, fine. If you want to, like, I'll use
and
your
that's
words.
like not playing a semantic game either. Like
No,
that
I know. But like, if you aren't bringing players in because of concerns with the coach, then that says a lot about the coach, also, right? And that kind of goes back to the point that we started the show with. But yeah, I think, I do think that, like, now, seeing as like Darvin couldn't avoid his own worst instincts again, I don't think I would make that signing. And it sucks because I wouldn't make that signing because of the head coach again. And you're making your roster worse in terms of just talent for the sake of protecting the head coach from himself. But yeah, it's just, at some point you got to do that, right? Like, it's the scene from Moneyball where they trade away the first baseman.
I ain't seen it. Scott Hatterberg is who you're referring to, just because I'm an A's fan, but I ain't never seen that movie because that movie is what. I also don't like sports. I don't like sports movies, but
it's white people stuff because you haven't seen it is the thing.
No, that's white people. That's white people shit. Either way, no, either way, that is just white people shit. I do know the story you're talking about.
You could watch, like, you could, like, have just not happened to watch, like, an episode of Martin or something like that, and it's like, nope, that episode was white people shit.
Oh no,
I didn't see it.
Never. How dare you? How dare you? In fact.
But I do think, though, that, like, good front offices are always kind of aware of those tendencies in the head coach, and do kind of operate to prevent those tendencies from creeping up and biting the team in the ass. And in this case, those tendencies have crept up and bit the Lakers in the ass. Max can't get off the bench.
To be fair, okay, like, I just disagree with that. Not you. I disagree with Max not playing. Period. I don't have an answer for you. I just disagree with it. Period. So I don't have an answer. Max should play.
He's their sixth best player.
Well, but here's the other issue, though, and this is going to sound like I'm making excuses, right, for whomever. If you want to say Darvin or you want to say the front office, fine. Either way, is that signing Dinwiddie has kind of coincided with Vando and Christian Wood not being available. So at some point you run out of guys that can play, and you lost two of the ones that allowed you to play big, like guys that could actually play. Like, you start getting down there to guys that can't necessarily play. So I do understand.
Were hurt.
What's that?
Before they signed Spencer.
No, I understand, but what I'm saying, that's why I'm saying it has coincided with at the same time. So those guys not being available has, I would assume, led to playing smaller and playing Spencer more because he's just better than the guys after him. It is not an ideal situation. I think signing Spencer was the right idea, but I can't argue with you that for whatever reason, the Lakers, in my opinion, and it seems like in yours, have started playing too small again. Yeah. Like, the only big lineup that the Lakers have basically right now, or actually play, is the starting group.
Mm-hmm. And by the way, them only getting 14 minutes together is way below average number of minutes for a starting group together, and it makes no sense.
I don't know that it's way below average, but it is.
I would say most starting groups play about 20 minutes together, right? That's like,
they usually get
depending on the
like
situation.
16. It's more like 16. They'll usually get a 6 minute in the first shift, a 6 minute in the second, in the third shift, and then usually you would close the second and fourth for 2 or 3 minutes with your starters again, which is going to give you 16-ish minutes. Although some starters groups altogether don't close. So
I would say, though, that, like, in a game like last night, where, like, given how important the game was,
well, it looked like that
normally
too.
Play closer to 20 minutes.
Yeah, fair. But it looked like, until should we call it the AD situation, maybe, it looked like Darvin had settled on a shorter rotation, a smaller, like a more playoff, shorter rotation, and then AD got a bunch of fouls, and
it seems well, he got 2, and the decision was made to bench him with 2 in the first, and then Darvin also said that he
and
well,
then
he
this
also
is what you're going to get to.
well, he also, and this was something that I said live too. So it's not like I'm dunking on the guy after the fact, but he should have challenged that 4th foul. It was a bad call. And it was your most important players, other than LeBron, 4th foul, and essentially ended the game right there. Especially when you brought in Torian for him, that basically ended the game. We have to get you out of here pretty soon, so I'm going to race through some of our super comments. Brandon Omeng writes, when Vando comes back, I wouldn't use when. Vando comes back, he needs to be in the starting unit. D'Lo, Vando, Rui, Braun, and AD with the bench of AR, Spencer, Torian, and then as for Max, he's not going to play. I meant to do this. So there's that. I disagree with that starting 5. It's too slow. There's no guard speed in that group. And I think that would.
I mean, to be fair, there's not a lot of guard speed, just period.
That's also true. The next one that we got here from Justin, which means I get to play this again. Love Ham LOL plays 6'6", 215-pound Prince at the 4 and expects positive results. This is something I understand in a certain situation and against a certain team and a certain lineup. It's something you would maybe try once and then not go back to. But he's done it, I think, in basically every game since the All-Star break, and we gotta cut that out. That is not something that anybody needs to see ever again. And we could talk about the potential reasons for it. I am probably going to save it for my next thing for Lakers Daily, but I do kind of think that is something that we can't continue to go back to. Next one here, as Aaron runs out of named cognac. John Drake writes, bad coach hire in Ham. Rob not signing Hayes and not a big mistakes. Rob is the Ham of GMs. The Lakers front office is OBJ insecure that they aren't hiring top talent. I don't think that they hired Ham for the sake of him not being top talent. I think they really believed in him. And this is the weird thing. This is something that, Aaron, maybe we could talk about on another day. But I keep wondering to myself, did we just miss Ham being this bad last year because the roster was so bad, or did he just flat out regress, or what's going on here? There are theories abound, but I
don't understand that second sentence. Rob not signing Hayes. Jackson Hayes was signed and not a big. Does he mean signing Dinwiddie and not a big?
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know. I don't understand that.
But
I mean, we just talked about that. I don't who. I guess would be my answer. Yeah.
The next one here from Anthony and Jenny Neal.
All right, a joint one. Okay.
Yeah, the fact that we will be heading into Max's 3rd season not really knowing all he can provide is criminal. I do think that one of the biggest misses this season has been their usage of Max Christie. Going into a free
decisions are coming, and restricted free agency decisions and all of that. So yeah, I think that's fair.
Yeah, that needs to get quite a bit better, and it doesn't look like it's going to because of the stuff that we just talked about with
can Max play? My answer is I'm not sure. Probably. And the fact that we don't have a better is he any good? My answer to that is I don't know, but I'm kind of optimistic and probably. But I do think that at this point, with, as I just mentioned, extension decisions coming in free agency, or restricted free agency rather, possibly on the horizon, that it would be would be better off if we had more information about what Max can and can't be.
I also think that they have affected his development, and that really hurts. That really stings. All right, that is going to do it here for this episode of the Lakers Lounge. Thank you everybody for tuning in the way that you have the last few days. The last few live streams has really kind of popped off. So I appreciate that from everybody here. The plan for the rest of this week, I will have a Lakers Lounge tomorrow with those of you who are lounge VIPs. What you're going to want to do if you're a lounge VIP is go to the community tab, and there will be a post there with a link. And if you follow that link, you'll be able to come on this show with me live tomorrow, that being Friday afternoon. Yeah, it's a fun little thing that I think.
Yeah, no, I heard last week's. It was good.
Yeah, so the plan is to do more
whoever,
of that
whoever
stuff
it was
here.
that came up on stage with you.
He actually was
he was
really good.
Yeah, he was. Yeah.
So yeah, check your community tab there. If you are not a member of the lounge VIPs, then that is the incentive to do so. So you can participate in the show in that way, in a really cool way, and have your voice heard here as well. So until then, and until the next time you guys hear from me, I'm Anthony Irwin. That was Aaron Larsoul. This has been the Lakers Lounge. Have a great rest of your day. Make somebody else's, and I will talk to you tomorrow.